so lucky to be here. I'm all the way from San Francisco, and it's been an amazing week at this point in Australia. I am a community manager, so I believe in conversation. I believe in the many-to-many connections. I believe in facilitating conversations. So it's a little weird that I'm here sort of talking at you. So I'll try to keep that part of it really brief, and then we can actually engage in community building, and you can ask me whatever you want. So think of the most difficult questions that are on your mind, and we'll try to work it out. Does that sound good? Yeah. Cool. All right. So community management. Why is it important, and why is internal community even a thing? So when thinking about the future, and which seems to be the theme here today, and transforming your organization to really pioneer sort of what the future brings, I think about change, and I think about the ability to deal with change. So who here feels like there is a lot of stuff going on? There are changes in technology, there are changes in the way that we do business. Show of hands. It can be a little maddening, right? Do you ever feel frazzled? You have way too many tweets, way too many emails, all this stuff, all this information coming at you, all these people. All of a sudden, the world has shrunken. This girl from San Francisco is now here in Sydney talking to you. What? And so these technologies have really opened up our worlds, but really sort of in some ways made things simpler, in some ways a little bit more complex, just because we have access to so much. And so businesses are feeling frazzled sometimes, as individuals are. And so a lot of the problems that we're trying to solve, we're solving with tools of yesterday, which don't quite fit. Right, so when I'm thinking of the change that's happening, I think of The Wizard of Oz. And if you recall the film, Dorothy was living on a farm in Kansas in a very isolated environment. And she was wishing the whole time that somewhere over the rainbow there would be a different way. And then she got all spun up in the tornado, and she ended up landing somewhere, and she had no idea where she was. And when I look at a lot of businesses, I'm sure none of the businesses in this room, I see that. You know, I see companies not really sure, you know, where this whole social thing is going, and playing catch up, right? And so that's sort of a dangerous place to be, because playing catch up always puts you on the reactive. You're not able to really expand into the markets that you need to. You're not able to really be proactive about your business. And so I strongly believe in the community conversation really making your organization much more adaptable to change. And so we're not talking about adapting to one piece of change or one technology per se, or one event. It's organizing yourself in a way that allows you to deal with whatever the change is. And really, that's sort of the main thing that I wanted to talk about today. How do you do that, right? So, and change has also changed, right? So I was watching a video by Thornton May. If you guys have not heard of him, give it a watch on YouTube. He talks about the future, and he talks about change. And so he posits that change, you know, has changed. And while as before the Industrial Revolution, it took about 50 years for any big change to happen. Then after the Industrial Revolution, it was once every 20 years. And now it's every 5 years. And that's it's gonna accelerate also. And so thinking about change, we change in different ways. So in your organizations, you may have one department that's adapting to change at a different pace than a different department. And so it throws us out of sync. And when you think about that, and when you're cognizant of that, it really changes the way that you approach, you know, the problems of today. So I strongly believe in community as sort of the glue that holds you together, and that allows you to get back into sync. And that is really, really powerful when you deconstruct that. And so I think over the past few years, our notion of community has really changed. We're not just creating communities for our customers. but we are creating communities inside of our companies. And companies that are on the forefront of sort of capturing the future and really forward-looking and enabling themselves to deal with this massive amount of change are the companies that understand that to get in sync, you have to plug into this common brain and allow people to find solutions together. So taking a step back, how our organizations are typically set up is we have, functional silos, and that's great. And that was created for the reality of the industrial era, and that made sense, right? And to get some piece of information, you sort of have to go to your boss, and then your boss has to go to his and her boss, and then it trickles down to the next silo. That does not work anymore, right? Our customers are asking us on Twitter questions, and guess what? If we don't get back to them in 5 minutes or in 2 hours, they go with our competitors. We do not have the luxury to use the old tools to solve the problems of today. And so this is why, again, this community and really enabling people to connect with whoever they need to, with the people that they need to connect with inside of their organization, but also build really rich ecosystems that extend far outside of your organization, because the answer is not always inside. It's on the edges, as Annalie mentioned. It's your partners, it's your customers. You're co-creating products with your customers that your customers actually want to use. Back in the olden days, right, we had our forecast. We said, and we did fancy market research, and we said, this is what the market wants. And we know this because, we did some fancy research. 2 years later, we roll this out. We roll out this product. By that time, it's obsolete. And then we put it out in the market, and then we say, because of our forecast, we think we're going to sell this many widgets, and we're going to hire this many people. We no longer have that luxury because the market changes much faster. You have competitors springing up at a faster and faster rate. Advances in social, mobile, cloud, they allow people to create competitors that compete with you at the drop of a hat. You snooze, you lose. So we can't really make these same forecasts and hire according to these forecasts and get the right supplies with the same amount of predictability that we could yesterday, because things are a lot more fluid. Systems are much more fluid. Information is everywhere. And guess what? Your customers are exchanging this information. They're tipping each other off to what's going on. Just think about, all the examples of communities springing up and forcing companies into action, or reaction rather. So I don't know if you guys are familiar with this company called Netflix. It's an American company. Unfortunately, I could not stream Netflix because they won't allow me to here in Australia. And so sort of out of touch with how the world works. People travel and they still want to stream on their service. That's a different conversation. So what they've done is they've rolled out a pricing change and also a structural change. And that structural change made no sense. And they haven't talked to their market. They haven't engaged, their advocates and their influencers. They haven't talked to the press, or seems like they haven't. And so what the structural change was is that you were going to receive 2 bills, and you were going to have 2 services, right? One is going to be your streaming service, and one is the actual movie. That makes no sense. So and they also jacked the price by 60%. And so the confluence of all of these events and really bad decisions have actually caused quite a flurry of negative social media activity, and they actually ended up losing about 35% of their value, as reported by Wall Street Journal. And they lost 1 million subscribers in just a few months. And what ended up happening is their customers ended up creating Facebook hate groups and really banding together and really galvanizing other people to also quit Netflix on the quitting day, which was September 1st or some other time last year. That's extremely powerful, right? So you absolutely cannot afford to react to things that are happening in the market, because they will happen, and they will happen very quickly. All of this happened within days of the Netflix introduced changes. just can't do it anymore, right? Bank of America, a financial institution in the States, they had to backtrack also. Very recently, they announced that they were going to charge us a charge for using our debit cards. $5 a month, huge outcry. They had to actually backtrack and take that away. Good thing they listened, but they lost a whole lot of goodwill in the process. So the moral of the story is, you just simply cannot apply the thinking of yesterday to deal with today's problems. And having an honest discourse, a collaborative, creative process within your company, with your employees, to troubleshoot, potential roadblocks. All these companies, they could have tested their theories just by asking their employees. We're thinking of doing this, right? Hey, what do you think? You guys are the bank tellers, Bank of America employees. You're the tellers. What do you think? What do you think would happen? You're close to the market. And so can be done. So one of our customers, actually, Red Robin, they are doing exactly that to build a better burger. So what they're doing, they're literally building a better burger. So instead of sending sort of fact sheets and training sheets to their store manager, they're giving them iPads. Today in the digital age, no paper, iPads, putting all the training documents right in there in Yammer, and allowing also the store managers to exchange best practices. So it becomes this living organism. And when something happens at the store level, the store manager is then empowered to take action, to say what's happening in a very open and transparent environment without fear of, retribution or whatever. And other store managers who are in the same position, who have had the same problem, are able to chime in, and they're able to co-create a solution together. So what ended up happening is they were getting some feedback because they're in the front lines, and they were getting feedback from customers, because guess what? They're talking to customers all day long. It's not the CEO in an ivory tower. It is the frontline employees. It's the people on the edges. And guess what? They took the feedback from their customers and they formulated better burgers. And now these burgers are in production. How powerful is that? A company that's willing to have this kind of conversation with its employees, that empowers them to go out there and do the best thing that's possible for the market. It gives you the autonomy as an employee to move and to do the right thing that's necessary for the market. You're not stuck in silos. You're not waiting for approvals and red tape. You can just move. And really, that is the future. It's the workplace where employees are empowered. They have the opportunity to plug into a common brain. And at the same time, while you are autonomous and you're acting autonomously, you're still driven by a common vision. So Dan Pink, he's an author, futurist, great speaker, great writer. Check out his book Drive if you haven't already. And he talks about the 3 foundations of human motivation. And they are purpose, mastery, and autonomy. And so if you can resolve those 3, if you can give people those 3 things at work, you're going to win. Your employees are going to win, and you're going to win through that, through them winning. And so by giving them the autonomy to do the right thing for the market, deliver what the market needs at the time that the market needs it, guess what? You win, you beat your competitors, and you become a force to be reckoned with. And you're not playing catch up because you're always ahead, and your employees have the tools to really decide and do the things that they need to do the right thing. And purpose, they're driven by a common purpose. You know, the CEO or an executive team, they actually let their employees know what's going on and why the decisions that are made are being made. And that way people feel engaged. You know, there was a study by Gallup that stated very, very openly that 70% of workers right now are not engaged or deeply unengaged. And that's a travesty, because when you're not engaged, you're not going to go the extra mile. You're not going to do the right thing for the market. You're not going to create a better burger. But if you give people an opportunity to contribute, to be empowered, to be autonomous, to keep getting better in their craft, so they have that mastery and driven by a common purpose, you win. Thank you.